there's a personal story to it. I mean, I felt like I've come home almost 10 years back when I stumbled upon existential psychotherapy, right? And I knew that that was what I want to, pursue. But then when I started traveling between Singapore and London, that's where I was doing my intensive studies, I felt like there was a bit of a disconnect there. I would go into school, into class, right? And it's very refreshing to be sharing the space with other international students. But what I noticed was that everybody was just not afraid to speak their minds, right? And it was refreshing because I don't get to experience that in Singapore. We can't speak up in schools as well. Not that we can't, but it's looked down upon. So when I was in school in London, it felt really refreshing, but at the beginning I struggled because I didn't know how to fit into it, right? I was quiet, I was silent all the time. But over time I felt like, okay, I could ease my way here, in class. I could settle in better. But the next struggle then is going back to Singapore. I felt like what do I do? I can't repeat that way of being that I experienced in London back in Singapore, right? And that made me start, that got me thinking about what does it mean to be authentic? Is being authentic here about being true to yourself? Because if being true to yourself, it's to be able to express yourself. I experienced that in London, but I can't experience that in Singapore. Doesn't mean that I can't be authentic being a Singaporean in Singapore, right? And so that got me asking the question about, is authenticity a universal value? And that was how I got started with my thesis. It was really to answer my own question. What does it mean to be authentic? And so my appreciation now with authenticity is, it's not about expression or not, right? It's about how we relate to our environment, and the intentions behind it, right? And a lot of them, the intentions, how we're navigating ourselves in the world, a lot of these processes can be invisible to others. So even in therapy, right now, I think it's changed the way I work with my clients as well, right? A lot of them come in with adulting issues, exploring what it means to be an adult. And I noticed that a lot of clients come in with pain and a lot of struggling to know when to speak up, right? And it affects their self-esteem, affects their sense of identity. But also because with my own research and understanding, then, when I work with them phenomenologically, I try to understand what is their sense of self. And I think a big part of my research and what I've learned as well is understanding that the self is always emerging. It's never finished. And there is no one true self, right? And so when I explore with them their multiple selves, that's when they see that, okay, there is a reason why I've decided to keep silent here, and I've, in another environment, another context, I've decided to speak up. It's because I am engaging with different sides of ourselves, of myself. Yeah.